great to be here. It's great to be on a stage. I have a little bit of a confession to make. Yesterday, some people were doing their Confluence sessions, so I guess this would be mine. My major in college was theater, so being on a stage is kind of awesome for me right now. So don't be surprised when I break into my own rendition of All That Jazz later on. I think you're going to enjoy it. But no, it's great to be here at Confluence. It's great to be here in Oklahoma City. I really like this whole setup. I love the branding that they've got going on for this conference. I love this little guy. How cute is he? He is like frightening and adorable at the same time. He's a little monster. You know, Sasquatch, Godzilla, King Kong, Loch Ness, Goblin, Ghoul, a zombie with no conscience. Question, what do these things all have in common? Everybody knows I'm a digital marketing monster, right? I also majored in rap in college, so there's that. But you know, yesterday when I was looking at all the speakers and their presentations, and today when I was listening to everyone, I realized that we've all got a little bit of a monster in us. Marketing the way it is in 2016 is to where we all have these different and varied skill sets, and we're all this Frankenstein-like amalgam of different things all meshed together into one little marketing monster. And that's what I am. And so I've kind of prided myself on the past several years of being this hybrid creature of PR and social and content marketing and blogger outreach and all these different things rolled into one. I'm kind of like an X-Man, maybe rogue, but instead of like when I touch you, you die, I give you life instead. That'd be my mutant superpower. X-Men fans in here apparently, yeah. So what we're gonna talk about today is influencer marketing. And so I get really excited when I come to these conferences and I see those awesome Venn diagrams that have all these circles intersecting with one another, because it's in those little overlapping sections, that's where I play. That's my playground. And influencer marketing falls into those little intersecting circles, those little tiny bits that overlap. So today we're going to talk about how to find those right influencers for your brand. And the title is Swiping Right, because I want to pull a lot of relationship metaphors into this, because that's ultimately what we're doing, is building relationships with influencers. Influencer marketing is something that's been around forever. I loved Aaron Yarborough's presentation earlier today. It talked about content marketing and the same thing. It's been around for so long. We've called it different things, but it's really nothing new to us or our skill sets. We all know how to do influencer marketing. We're asking for an endorsement or recommendation. That's it. We're marketing person to person, we're asking for that, and that's been around ever since marketing and advertising was a thing. But here's something you may not know. In 2015, Google classified influencer marketing as a breakout term, meaning the number of searches for the phrase influencer marketing grew over 5,000% in that time period as opposed to the previous time period. That's a big deal. That's a huge jump. And I think there are a lot of reasons for this that kind of made that happen. Right now we're dealing with a lot of ad blocking. You know, it's very likely that about half of your audience is using some type of ad blocking software. We're also seeing a huge decline in TV viewing, especially among 18 to 24-year-olds. If that's your target demographic, don't do TV commercials. You're not going to get much traction. We're also at a place in content or in influencer marketing where we have a lot of case studies that show it works. In fact, one stat that I found said up to 81% of marketers who have tried some form of influencer marketing report success. That's a huge percentage, 81%. Not only that, but influencer marketing also makes use of word of mouth. And when it comes to audience acquisition and retention, yesterday we talked about it all afternoon, how brand loyalty is dead. But utilizing word of mouth through influencer marketing to acquire customers can lead to about a 37% higher retention rate, which is huge because that brand loyalty is now dead. But I think the most important reason why influencer marketing has just exploded over the past couple of years is because it's finally getting this person's attention. They're seeing where it's effective. They're seeing where it's also cost effective. And so now we as marketers, we have to come up with solutions for this person. So let's get into, okay, what is influencer marketing? It's been around for a long time, but I still don't quite get it. Or I've heard some conflicting things about influencer marketing I don't quite understand. Well, first we're going to talk about what it's not in 2016. The first thing that influencer marketing is not is automated. We're digital people. We like to automate things. But influencer marketing is about relationships. Raise your hand if you know how to automate quality time with your children or your spouse. Can you automate date night? It'd be awesome if you could, right? No, we're not wired for that. We need person-to-person quality time. We need that contact for relationships to grow and develop. The second thing influencer marketing is not is free. I come from a PR background, I get it. We all want something for nothing. But when you're building a relationship, that's not what works. If you come at it from a standpoint of, oh, I'm going to send you this press release, this white paper, this blog post, and I expect you to share it for nothing, you're doomed. Because in 2016, influencers, bloggers, all of those kinds of people know their value and they know what they're worth. And I just mentioned them, bloggers, but influencer marketing is not just about bloggers. You don't have to have a blog or even a website to be an influencer. There are so many people right now on Instagram that are just killing it, using it as a micro-blogging platform. They don't have a site. Same thing on Twitter. Tons of influential people on Twitter that don't have a site. They're not bloggers, but they've got a compelling presence and they motivate their audiences. They're influencers. So it's time to broaden our definition of who is an influencer. And finally, the thing that influencer marketing is not is siloed. It does not belong to the social media department. It does not belong to the PR department, right? It touches a lot of different departments. It touches a lot of different people within an organization. And there are so many internal stakeholders now. It can't be siloed. So let's talk about what influencer marketing is. I told you what it's not. Let's talk about what it is. Okay, number one, it is human. And that's the thing I think I've appreciated most about a lot of the speakers that you've heard today. They put a really human twist on a lot of these concepts. And influencer marketing is really no different. It's about that person-to-person interaction. The second thing influencer marketing is resourceful. I loved all of the presentations about Facebook, content marketing, things like that, because influencer marketing totally feeds into that, you guys. It's something that can support it. It's where your outbound marketing and your inbound marketing can work together and support one another. And so even though there is a cost associated with it, you have to provide incentives, you have to pay, you get content that you can use for other things. There are so many brands right now that are killing it, creating ads on Facebook out of user-generated content, influencer content, and it looks so great. So there's lots of potential to be resourceful there. The next thing influencer marketing is it's incredibly inclusive. Influencers come from all walks of life, all backgrounds. There's bloggers, mom bloggers, experts in any field. In the nichiest of categories, you can find influencers. And finally, influencer marketing is incredibly integrated. All of these disciplines, everything that you guys do, your skill sets, can work together to enhance influencer marketing efforts. So let's talk about how to identify those influencers. Who is my influencer? Right? It's like the parable Jesus told about, who is my neighbor? My influencer is really just about anyone. If you were to ask the question, okay, well, who should I date? Well, some of you may have a type, sure, but that's kind of a broad question. I mean, you could date anybody. It could be anybody. But let's talk about two things specifically that leads to attraction. In friendships, in romantic relationships, these two things right here. Similarity, how much you have in common, and proximity. Are you likely to be in the same place at the same time to see one another? And these same factors are at play for influencer marketing relationships as well. If you have an influencer who has the same values as your brand, who believes in the same thing that your company believes in, they're going to be more attractive to you. Or if you find an influencer who is incredibly close to the person that's your target customer, they're going to be more attractive to you. So similarity and proximity. Do they share your values? And are they close to your target consumer? Those are the two main things that are going to determine whether or not an influencer is right for you. And that's where the romance can begin. But what else is there? I mean, because surely, just because we're all in the same room and we all have several things in common doesn't mean we're going to be attracted to one another, right? There's got to be more to it than that. Well, there is. And so I'm going to give you the 4 things that I will always swipe right on when it comes to influencers. The things that really get me going and get me excited about working with these influencers. And the first thing is just an awesome profile. This is a friend of mine named Rachel. She's amazing. She's an influencer, but she's also just a personal friend of mine too. But I love her profile here, how she's taken the time to fill out everything. Because that tells me a couple of things about her. It tells me that, number one, she wants to be found, and she wants to provide resources and information to her followers and her audience. So 10 times out of 10, I will always swipe right on someone who has a really great optimized profile. I've seen a couple of you tweeting in here this week, guys. You still have eggs as your profile pictures. I don't want to call out any Twitter handles or anything, but come on. You know better than that. The next thing that I will always swipe right on is someone who I see motivating their audience and followers to do something. As marketers, we worry about getting butts into seats, but if you're an influencer, I want to see how you get butts out of seats. I want to see how you motivate people to put down their device and do something, or to cause some kind of reaction. I want to see those engagement levels. I want to see you motivating people to do something. That makes an attractive influencer. The third thing that I will always swipe right on is someone who knows their audience well enough to actually turn me down on ideas. When I pitch an idea or a project and they say no, I love that. Because it tells me that they care about their audience so much that they don't want to put something in front of them that's lame or that doesn't fit in with their other content. And that's exciting for me because I know that when I do pitch them on something and they say yes, that's going to hit the bullseye every single time. We're not just throwing darts hoping something will stick. We know it's going to stick. And finally, the thing that I will always swipe right on are influencers who know their value. They can show it. They can prove it. And it's a big difference between, analytics and metrics that matter and those vanity numbers that you see all the time. I don't care how many followers you have. I want to know what percentage of them are engaged with you. I don't care about unique visitors to your site. I care about bounce rates. If you're dating someone and they say, oh, I bench 500 pounds, baby, that's great. Cool, that may be attractive. But if that same person turns around and said, hey, I have a 500 credit score, baby, it tells a little bit different story, doesn't it? It's the same number. It's just a number. But it means something very different. So look for those influencers who can show real value. They may have their own media kits or case studies or different things like that where they've proven it. And in 2016, there's really no excuse not to have that if you want to be an influencer. With great apps and different programs like Tailwind. Does that mean I get a second month? Yeah? There's no excuse not to have that information on yourself if you want to be an influencer. And if you're a brand marketer, you should expect that from them. So optimized profiles, yes, I will swipe right on that. The ability to motivate someone to do something, yes, I will swipe right on that. The ability to know your audience so well that you know whether or not an idea is going to work for them, yes, I will swipe right on that. And showing me value, showing me what you're worth, showing me those numbers, yeah, I'm going to swipe right on that. Because for us, it's important before we begin any kind of influencer marketing outreach, any campaigns or projects, we have to know what we're looking for. We have to know what we want that end result to look like. Those goals, those objectives, those tactics are very important to have. But we also need to know what we're looking for in a partner, in an influencer. We have to determine that right up front. Because once we go for it, and once we find those brand soulmates and create beautiful content together, that's how we're going to get our happily ever after. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, tweet them at me.
All right, Maree, I've got a couple questions for you right now. All right, so I've gone and I've found some influencers. Maybe I've even done some great things and gotten the ball rolling, but now I need more influencers. I need to keep it going. What do I do? How do I do that?
Yeah, a lot of people are concerned about scalability of influencer programs and things like that, and that's valid because right now a lot of us are probably strapped for resources and budgets, and I totally get it. But once you build a solid relationship with an influencer, a lot of times you can tap into their networks, and they know other influencers. And that's how you start to build these programs organically. There are lots of different ways that you can find influencers, but if you have just one really solid relationship, you can build your program from that by tapping into their networks.
All right, we've got the microphones out. If you have a question, make sure you flag one of those down. Maree, okay, are there any tools that are particularly beneficial for finding influencers, growing your number of influencers, interacting with them once you found them?
Yeah, there are lots of programs that claim to automate these types of relationships. I would kind of stay away from those. But there are lots that are really great for finding influencers. I've used GroupHigh in the past, GroupHigh. It's really great for identifying influencers at the local level and by industry. So something like that I would definitely check out.
How do I start that relationship? I found somebody. I know you're an influencer. You don't know me. How do I start that relationship?
It can be as simple as an email or a tweet saying, hey, I think you're great. I think we should talk. It's just like striking up a conversation with that person that you're interested in dating. It's awkward as anything, but you got to start somewhere. And even just a simple introduction via email or Facebook or anywhere, like wherever their platform of choice is a great way to get started.
All right. Quick scan. Any microphone takers right now? No? All right. Well, make sure you tweet your questions directly to Maree or tweet them to the Confluence account, and we'll make sure that they get in her hands, and we'll try to connect you and make sure you get your question answered. One of the great benefits, some one-on-one advice and things. That's one of the great things that we've got here. Maree Jones, thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.